So our normal pit lane line, at the exit of pit lane line, he's just buttoned off there and accelerated out of pit lane. But because the timing loop is further around the corner to determine how long you've been in pit lane for, it's actually another 10 metres past that line. So that's why he got done for that. You know, he missed the pit window, 0.2 of a second or something, which is nothing. But, you know, then it ruined his day and he had to come through pit lane and do a stop-go penalty, which is strange in itself. But, you know, I was talking to him that he actually didn't go to the driver's briefing to understand all this because he was too busy with TCR stuff. So he kind of missed that thing, and maybe it wasn't, you know, obviously he doesn't read the notes like most drivers. We don't read the notes, so, you know, he got caught out, which is unfortunate. Well,
he will start from the front row with the pro drivers or the higher ranked drivers starting today's race. The car's about to set off on the formation lap. Let's go down to pit lane. Say very good morning to Brad Hodge. We'll get back to Brad very soon.
It's going to be an interesting race today, I think, because I think Chaz could have actually taken it to Shane later in that race. So it's going to be interesting to see how he gets off the line, and if Shane wins the start, is he going to have a dive? Because I think their cars are quite compatibly as far as speed goes. It's just where their strengths and weaknesses lie in this racetrack.
So it's a role reversal today because the lower class drivers, I wouldn't say they're lower class, there's some pretty good AM drivers out there in this field.
But what do you call them?
The number 2 rank.
Number 2 rank, yeah, exactly. That's better. We'll change that for the Regs in the next rounds. So these guys will now have to do all the heavy lifting later in the race. So the guys now will build the big margins. It's up to the Class 2 guys to actually bring it home later today. It makes for a lot more pressure, doesn't it?
And how good was yesterday? Highlight race for mine for the day of action here at Mountain Panorama. It was an absolute beauty when you've got 2 guys who combined to win the Bathurst 1000 last year. Then they're going hammer and tongs across the top of the mountain in different teams, in different cars. It was a fantastic spectacle, and we were privileged to be part of it.
It was. I was talking to Tandy yesterday, and he said Shane was a little bit cheeky to him is when he was going to pass him. So, you know, it was a bit unlike Tander to just sort of almost give up that position because it's not his car. Really, it's just a strange thing. I would have expected a bit more fight from Tander.
They've got Hodgie on the line down in pit lane. Let's go to him now. Technical difficulties with Hodgie today, or he's searching for a drive himself down there.
Too excited, that's the problem. He's too busy looking at the cars to talk to us. We've got one less entrant today. This is really disappointing news too. So Brett Hobson in the Nissan GTR yesterday, he started on the second row. He had great pace all weekend, but a drive shaft issue and so he have to do today. That's really disappointing.
Yeah, I noticed that car was falling down the order. It was so strong earlier in the race there. It was running at the top of the field for the first 25-30 minutes of the race, and then when the pit stop window closed, it really started to fall down the order.
Yeah, he was doing an amazing job keeping up with like all the A-class cars in a, you know, in an older spec car. So it's very, very shameful. I noticed the last couple of laps he was like 30 seconds away from his normal time, so I was wondering what was going on.
So a slight tweak for the rule change here this weekend to what we had at Phillip Island. It's not a progressive grid as what we had down there. It's a separate qualifying session that was held after Q1 yesterday, so it didn't really affect the top order here, but it's a slight tweak to the regulations for this year's GT World Challenge.
I'm also interested to find out how fast these cars are going to go, because it's beautiful conditions out there. It's not even 9 o'clock yet and they're going to start racing. You know, the air's nice and crisp. There's a little bit of sun out, so I expect to see some really fast times.
So just as it was yesterday, the Triple Eight car will start from pole position with Shane Van Gisbergen. Chaz Mostert will start alongside him. Garth Tander and David Wall on that second row. Brenton Grove will start in car number 4 alongside Paul Stokel in the 124 KFC Audi. Tony Quinn and Brad Schumacher. Boy, they've had some work to do this weekend. The Schumacher team here from Bathurst. Taylor and Porter are next. Over the page to Twig and Bailey.
So Twig this weekend stepping in for Matt Stupas, who wasn't able to make it. Bailey alongside him. Row 7 is Mark Sini, a guy who has raced with Dave Reynolds in the past.
Yes.
Kelly Abrahams and Griffith in our GT4 entry round the mount. So the interesting part, you've got to remember, the time penalty additions from yesterday means that our pole sitter today, Shane Van Gisbergen, he's got a 15-second penalty. In second in terms of penalties was Garth Tander, so he's got 10 seconds and then 5 seconds back from Mostert. So that means that Van Gisbergen, if he wants to hand it over in the lead, he has to get a gap on the field of more than 5 seconds. So that's where it all plays out, and that equalisation measure makes for great racing.
And works perfectly when there's no safety cars like yesterday.
Just about to say that. The only thing that ruins that strategy is a safety car in this first half an hour of racing.
Gee, they kept it clean yesterday, didn't they, compared to Phillip Island? That was a brutal round. We lost the Ferrari, a couple of Ferraris down there had big incidents. So the Maranello Ferrari, the 488, is not here this weekend, involved in the fire. They are repairing that one, so Peter Edwards will be back. And we know that Adrian Dietz has just jumped into a Lambo, as you do. And he's here with David Wall, who we know has great supercars and GT experience as well.
Wally will start that car from the third row. So both he and Grove don't have the additional times here of the guys inside the top 6. So they'll do the 100-second pit stops with the guys ahead, like you said, 15, 10 and 5 will be added to their pit stops when the window opens. Beautiful shot looking down Conrod Straight. I know we've touched on it all weekend, but how good does Mount Panorama look this time of the year?
Just the greatest, isn't it? There's no better racetrack in the world right now, especially in one of these cars. That is a lot of fun.
So we've got six manufacturers out there: the Aston Martins, Audi, Lamborghini, Merc, Porsche and the Nissan GTR, which isn't out there now. So we've only got the 5 manufacturers out there, but 5 of the best in the world. And a real mix in terms of the driver capabilities as well. So you do get some traffic and things that mix up the racing later in that second stage.
So safety car about to peel off to the left and into pit lane. It'll leave this 16-car field in the rows of 2. Van Gisbergen and Mostert in for a juicy battle once again. Will the Van Gisbergen domination of 2021 continue? Will Mostert fire back with some anger here today? Coming up to the start, race 2 of the Fanatec GT World Challenge, powered by AWS at Mount Panorama. Beautiful start up to the line, and we get underway in race number 2. Beautiful start from the front row. Grove pulling out already from a look at the tuck in behind the first 4. David Wall going already in the Lamborghini Huracan. So we head up Mountain Straight for the first time. Looks like Stokell got there on the dirt, leaves at Hill Corner for the first time.
That's got Stokell all the way back to the rear of the field as we head up Mountain Straight and into Griffin's Bend. It is the 888 car. It is Shane Van Gisbergen works right, but they're wide. There's 2 wide. Tanner's on the outside. They're going to have to squeeze in behind Mostert, and it will be the 888 car of Shane Van Gisbergen, the unbeatable, the undefeated man for 2021, who leads them into the Worth Cake for the first time.
So this is the start. This is the part of the race where you're more likely to pass someone. So, you know, expect some funny dives, or, you know, the car depends on the tyres coming up and whatnot. So obviously Chaz is menacing him right now. So, you know, he might have done a better job of the warm-up lap.
Can we just stop and appreciate that run up to Griffin's thing? And it looked like only 2 cars, but there was 5 jammed into that shot.
It's crazy.
On the first lap of a 60-minute race.
Well, they're all jostling position because they need to make the gap so they can hand it over to the other drivers, so they've got a chance to win.
Good start from David Wall. He's in 5th position at the moment. With Tony Quinn plunging down the mountain. He won yesterday's AM class and will carry an extra 15 seconds. Great shot looking down at the Pertec dip.
Great shot.
From the Destination New South Wales drone cam here at Mount Panorama. Van Gisbergen leads us down into Forest Elbow with Mostert, Tander, Grove, Wall, Schumacher and Quinn. The top 7 as we work Conrod Straight here on lap 1.
And Chaz is a driver that doesn't die wondering. He's always the most exciting to watch, so look out for him here.
So Mostert tucking in behind as we head down Conrod Straight for the first time. It's Shane Van Gisbergen who's out in front at the moment. Mostert is right behind him. Look at the pressure as we head down into the chase. He ducks to the outside. Is he going to come back onto the inside? No, Van Gisbergen's too good for that. Shuts the door and keeps Mostert behind.
Good racing early on. It's down towards Murray's we go. First lap is in the books. Van Gisbergen the final turn. He'll lead the end of lap number 1 of this second race of the weekend. Mostert tucked up right behind it. His boss, the Gaudi. I get the feeling there's a lot of soul searching going on down in that team last night.
He'll be feeling pretty bad about his performance yesterday, about that little infringement they had, so he'll be doing everything he can to make it up to Tony and the team.
Mostert, of course, 2 from 2 in TCR land. We have our 3rd and final Supercheap Auto TCR race coming up a little later on, so looking forward to that one. But Mostert's still right in under the wing of the 888 World as they head around Griffin's Bend for lap number 2 of the 2021 Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia race 2.
Can't throw a blanket over the top 5, hey? That is
Great.
Nose to tail, it's great.
Clean racing further back in the field here. This is Stokell coming back through the field after his earlier incident. Max Twiggers, Stubbsy pointed out, driving the 23, replacing Max Stupas this weekend. Across the top of the mountain we go again. Mostert tucked right in. That's difficult to do up there, isn't it?
Yeah, you do. We talk a lot about aero wash in our sport, so especially with these aero-ish cars, but these these cars are not so bad compared to the supercar because they've got a flat bottom and it sort of diverts the air a lot easier. But you know, when you're tucked up behind a car so much, then you actually it unweights the front of the car because you can't get that much downforce on it. So it's a very strange feeling as a driver. It's very disconcerting.
Tander now on a bit of a charge, a bit of a moment there for Mostert in the Forest elbow. Will he have the momentum now to push on with that as he gets in the slipstream behind the Triple Eight? Tander it was who was fastest in that first sector. Perhaps his pressure's coming into the zone, but now it is Van Gisbergen across the top of the mountain who's had our fastest sector so far there.
He's got to go for a dive, Chaz. He has to do it.
He needs to move, doesn't he, considering that we're 13 minutes away from the pit window opening. Van Gisbergen parks it down the middle here through the DBA chase. Garth Tander just lurking back there in the Ben Motorsport entry. He teams up with Yasser Shaheen. They dominated the first round earlier this year at Phillip Island and Victoria. Down to the final turn we go once again. Lap 2 in the books. I'd love to see the lap times this time by because they were hustling on the first 2 laps. 2:08.4 for Van Gisbergen, 2:08.5. Remember, they are fairly heavy with fuel still.
They are still heavy with fuel and their tyre pressure was just be coming up, and possibly Shane must have run a bit lower pressure because he's starting to pull away a bit now.
Well, he needs to too, because 10 seconds is the difference between these two in their pit stop penalty time. So as we said, 15 for Van Gisbergen, just the 5 for Mostert. Great recovery drive yesterday, really for them to be able to get themselves back.
Yeah, did an amazing job. Got third on the last lap technically, so you know, he's you know, that's the best of the best scenario he could have wished for.
But it comes an extra 5 seconds.
You know, he was either going to win the race and get 15 or get 10, so you know, 5's not too bad.
Trophy or 5-second penalty, it's okay.
He's a race car driver.
He doesn't die one, like I said.
All about the trophies. Across the top of Solomon Park here at Mount Panorama, there's David Wall. Driving with Adrian Dietz here today, running back in 5th position as he stays with Grove. Remember, these two guys have got the minimum pit stop time of 100 seconds, so they're just going to stay with these guys, and they could pull themselves up for a good result today.
Brendan's doing a good job just hanging in there, like for someone that doesn't have the most experience. He's doing a great job.
Beautiful shot again from our drone cam across the top as we come down the mountain through the S's. There is the car of Wall, the Lamborghini. It's not hard to spot that one.
Don't want to stare at it for too long. Wall, of course, these days heading up the Honda Civic team. Then we'll see TCR later on this morning. The final race of round 3 of this year's championship. It's into the chase we go again. For now, looks like Van Gisbergen's just got a little bit of a margin here for the first time in the race. I know it's early days. We come through to complete lap number 3 and still 45 minutes of competition. 10 minutes away, roughly through the window opening. We pan back to Tony Quinn, Max Twigg.
It's a good looking car, that Triple Eight car, that chrome car.
It's cool, isn't it?
Always wanted a chrome car.
So it's Paul Stokel in a second KFC car moment there for Tony Quinn's going to allow the 3-time Australian Drivers' Champion to move up another spot. And Ben Porter, who's teaming up with Andrew McPherson in the IMAC Lamborghini. This is going to be an expensive moment in turn number 1. And they averted that.
Great battle there. Quinn took the outright lead in the AM class courtesy of his win yesterday. And who's second? It is that car behind him. It's the Lamborghini. So that's a great battle because it means a lot for the championship as well.
Tony Quinn, boys, just continues to drive around for so many years and a very dab hand in GT competition. He's a 2-time winner of the Highlands 101 over in New Zealand. That was an Aston Martin back in 2013 and 14. He's won the Phillip Island 101 as well. And a lot of success in GT competition over many, many years. Let's go back down to pit lane with Brad Hodge.
Shaheen in the garage here. It's not too often you get to meet someone at your own track, so it's pretty cool here. Yasser, you're pretty speedy. What's the plan to bring this car home?
Well, it's up to Garth, really. If he gives it to me in a good spot, it's then up to me to chase those guys down and come to their party. So I'm looking forward to it.
Now, I heard you're pretty intense in the lane. What do you do to relax before you get in the car?
Bit of tunes and a bit of walking.
Nice, man. I like it. Best of luck when you get in there.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.
Back to you guys.
He's starting to warm up as Yasser. He's wearing his Audi R8 Cup overalls down there when he won the championship back in 2019. First Australian driver to win the series.
Looks like a factory driver in those overalls, doesn't he? He did a fantastic job at Phillip Island last round. Absolute amazing job. So, you know, when he jumps in the car, if it's third, he's got to pass Tony Bates. And it all depends on the pit stops and whatnot, but if it's all set in stone now, he's got to pass Tony Bates and the Prince as well.
So the time's starting to drop now down to 2:06.1 the last time round for Van Gisbergen, and this one looks faster than that. But Mostert is sticking in behind him, so that gap that Van Gisbergen needs is not there yet. And of course, we know it'll be the Prince Jeffrey of Johor, the state of Malaysia, who will jump into the car. He did an outstanding job yesterday.
I was impressed. How about
Yeah,
you?
for your very first time at a mountain in one of these cars, you know, they're quite daunting cars to drive, and then chuck in this style of track, like it's very scary for him. So he's done an amazing job.
This track would be daunting in any car.
Yeah, you reckon?
Yes.
You reckon? Yeah, we'll see.
It's daunting in the safety car, I think, for those of our broadcast crew who you took a lap for the other day.
They're still recovering, aren't they?
Exactly.
Yeah, Brad's still a bit sick from that. I'm sorry, buddy.
We'll see that today in our coverage a little later on. It's one to keep an eye out for, that's for sure.
It was a good idea. It was a lot of fun. It was a big laugh.
Well, we stay in car with Mostert as he climbs the shelf and into Solomon Park. Let's go back down to pit lane. Greg Rust.
I could sit here and watch in-car racing the entire time. I just love it. I love watching onboard footage. It's just, you know, it's my cup of tea, really.
What were you picking up there? Anything at all? It wasn't a long shot, but did you see
No, it wasn't a
anything in
long
the way
shot.
the car was
No,
handled?
the car looks pretty balanced across the top. You know, the Audi is very, very good car across the top. He's actually closing the gap to Shane right now. So, you know, if he can get there, I hope he can have a dive and get around him.
Margin less than a second, first to second. At 2 seconds now between Van Gisbergen and Tander. 4 seconds down to Grove. So 5 seconds covering the first 5. This is going to be a tight race. It's actually playing into the hands of the guys in 4th and 5th currently.
We have confirmation from category manager that the pit window will open at 9:15. So that's 9:15 to 9:25. So still 10 minutes out on track now for these guys as we see Tony Quinn. What a great contributor he's been to motorsport in this country, and of course in his adopted homeland in New Zealand. The owner of Highlands and Hampton Downs, now a Triple Eight co-owner. He's got a lot going on in his life. He used to own this category as well, an enormous contribution. A great fella, loves to have a laugh, as we found out in our coverage earlier this weekend. I think he put Jess Dane on the spot with some of his comments. But
He's a local legend, isn't he?
He is a local legend, international legend even.
He's raced internationally as well, which speaks volumes for him and just doesn't sit still. For a man in his early 60s, most of them will be starting to think about slowing down a bit. He's getting faster.
He owns the Highlands track as well. I've actually never been there, but I'd love to go there and check it out.
So we look down the field. This is Nick Kelly, the industry racing entry, the Mercedes-Benz that also scored a penalty yesterday. One of several drivers in the race to pick up penalties for their pit stop infringements. These guys running down in 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th and 15th position currently. Behind them is Arthur Abrahams, back behind the wheel of a race car. He's been around for a long, long time and just loving the idea of racing. He's been around for a long time. As I said, 1987 Australian F2 champion and raced with some of the best names in open wheeler competition back then. Ran the NRC International Formula Brabham team for a long time, which had Eric Pender head for a long, long time back in the early 90s. Let's go back to Rusty.
I'm at Wall Racing, guys, so you can see Paul Forgy there, who worked very closely with Marcus Ambrose at Stone Brothers Racing in the early 2000s there when Marcus enjoyed his success. So he's keeping an eye on David Wall right now. This is his co-driver, Adrian Dietz. Is the plan to try and leave David in as long as possible, as close as he can to the end of that window, that pit window?
Yeah, I think that's what we're trying to do. Obviously, David's much faster than me. He's a pro. He's a very experienced driver. And, you know, I'll just try and get out there and hang on. We've got a shorter pit stop time than the cars around us. And so, you know, maybe we can pop out in the lead and just hang on.
How good is it to come to the mountain with a Lamborghini and hustle one around here?
Oh, it's just amazing on a day like this. You know, blue skies, great weather. Life couldn't be better.
Enjoy, guys.
This is a great day out there, isn't it?
It's magic. 27 degrees is the expected
blue
top
sky.
temperature, and we're not too far away from that already in the morning. Nice to get an extra hour of sleep this morning as well. I think all the competitors in the paddock made the most of that opportunity. It is a good battle at the moment, this one, with it's Quinn now chasing down the iMac Lamborghini. all very experienced competitors across these two cars.
So the top couple have just dribbled into the fours. So, you know, as the fuel burn comes off, the tyres start to come up, the drivers find their groove, they start to really hammer down those times. So that's when they're going to really start needing it. When all the pit stop cycles happen, they can start making their gaps.
So here's Porter and Tony Quinn still arguing over 8th and 9th as they approach the Worth cutting. 38 minutes of competition still remaining and about 7 minutes away. Make it 6 now from the pit stop window. Maybe there's been a correction to that from Motorsport Australia Race Control. 10-minute window that will open. We'll see the lower grade drivers jump in, and man, the pressure's going to be on if you're in 888 and in 24 when that pit stop window opens soon.
And when Yasser jumps in as well, he's going to be ultra competitive.
Oh, yes. So for now, it's Van Gisbergen and Mostert who are starting to stretch away from Garth Tander. It's out to nearly 4 seconds.
Yeah, once
Mostert we're in car with.
I'm just enjoying this part.
What amazes me about these cars is the braking and the turn. It's not a gradual braking. It's just stand on the brakes, turn left, and go again down there.
Well, it's really strange for a driver, especially being a supercar driver, these two people, because you brake about 50 metres later than you would in the supercar. So it's weird. It's hard to get your brain around when you're like hard on the gas going past your normal brake marker. It's a very, very funny thing to sort of understand.
Is that due to a weight differential? Is that a major thing, or the speed?
Well, it's, you know, it's just these cars have got better tyres, more aero, so they're not going as far down the straight. They're a bit lighter. They make their lap speed completely different to a supercar, and they can carry more speed as well, so you don't have to slow down as much.
Saw a shot there of Prince Jeffrey looking on. He was super pumped about yesterday, and being able to put a #1 next to his name at Mount Panorama, it's something that every racing car driver, not just in Australia but around the world, cherishes, and he got that yesterday.
Yeah, it's a good feeling no matter what car you're in. As long as you can win races here, it's just the best feeling in your life.
And it's not often you get to see that names like Van Gisbergen, Mostert and Tander leading a race at Mount Panorama that isn't a supercar. So fantastic experience for everyone that's here at the mountain this weekend watching on, and for the guys that are driving alongside them. Brenton Groves still doing a great job in 4th, keeping the pressure on. David Wall behind him as we go back to the battle a little further back into the field. That's Abrahams. He's at the back of this pack of 4.
Saw a quick glimpse of Paul Stokel, who's having a much better day out today. Reigned in 6th position. That car went a lap down towards the end of yesterday's race. There's Abrahams at the back of this train of cars. He's in 15th position. Mark Griffith just running in 16th and crossing the line now. The only GT4 car in the field. That's the adjusted leaderboard. That's how it should look when we get the pit stops done on the left-hand side. Remember, these are just... a guess at the moment, that pending whether we have any issues during the qualifying through the pit stop procedure, or mistakes coming in and out of pit lane.
Mistakes like yesterday. On screen now is actually Mark Senior. I was talking to him yesterday, and he's got one of the newer style Audis, and he doesn't really like it. He wasn't that happy with it yesterday. He actually prefers the older style, which was just a funny comment he sort of threw to me.
We said before you've raced with him internationally. Sepang, what was that experience like? It was a fair while ago now.
It was probably one of the funniest stories of my life. Like, I need about half an hour to tell it. But yeah, we ended up 3rd on the very last lap of a 12-hour race because the car in 4th caught on fire and couldn't finish. Literally, that's how it rolled out. It was just one of the funniest times of my life. We laughed constantly for 12 hours. It was funny. He's such a good guy.
And a great track, great event.
That was awesome. Really good event. Love to do it again.
So the co-drivers getting ready. Jeffrey Ibrahim ready and suited up down at 888. Johor Motor Racing ready to jump in to the 888 car. Van Gisbergen starting to set the track alight once again. Fastest first sector of the race and the fastest lap of the race so far, 2:04.24. We're about 2 minutes away from the pit stop window opening here. Race 2 on the Fanatec GT World Challenge powered by AWS.
It expect the A drivers to pit as late as they can in the pit window, so towards the 35-minute mark.
Whereas yesterday, it was the minute that window opened.
Yeah, they were in, weren't they? Get them in there and get the fast guys in.
So change of position here as Sini drops back in front of Abrahams here. So that battle has been going on for several laps. He led that group for a while, so maybe a mistake at held corner has allowed these two to make the move.
Right on cue, wasn't it?
Yes.
He's not that happy with his car, I told you.
How do you tell the differences, though, when you move? Like, they are very similar cars.
Well, they are and they aren't. So, like, you know, it depends on the restrictor size and all that. And, you know, the little updates, it might make it a little bit more twitchy. He described it as more of a pro car than an amateur car. So, you know, he prefers the stability of the old car and the straight line speed it had of the older car. So, you know, he said the new car's too pro related, so it's too twitchy. That's how it makes it speed, and he doesn't want to drive like that as a gentleman driver. You know, at the end of the day, this is his golf.
Yeah.
Hates golf, so he comes motor racing.
Expensive golf clubs.
Yes.
And a little faster than a golf cart. So this is our gap at the moment. Shane Van Gisbergen has eked it out ever so slowly to just over 1 second, but remembering the difference in the time penalty would put the Audi well in front if everything goes according to plan, of course, in the pit stop. And we don't have to worry about Chase Mostert getting that line right on entry this time, so that'll...
It's up to Tony to do it properly now.
Tony now, the pressure is on him not to make the same mistake.
I hope he's listening. But maybe Chaz is sitting there just going, I've got 10 seconds on him on the pit, so you know, I don't have to push that hard. I don't have to pass him. I don't have to risk everything.
And the pressure will be on him leaving the pits today instead of Chaz.
Yes, yeah.
During this pit stop cycle, it's out to 1 second between first and second. They're out to 6 seconds back to Garth Tander, Brenton Grove and David Wall. Some 14 seconds down the road as we take a look at the Rebellion replay. Now for Abrahams with the elbows up on Mark Sini there as they approach the Pertec Dipper. Those guys down in 14th and 15th position as the pit stop window has officially opened here in this race, and Sini's decided to be the first one into the lane just beneath us here on the main straight. But you expect these guys will continue on for at least another 2 laps. What do you think?
We think
Possibly more.
Sini might be just taking the opportunity to catch his breath after that moment across the top then. The hip and shoulder from Abrahams, perhaps unsettling him a little, but he'll be right. He'll get back out there and charge on an experienced
It's Tony Bates
campaigner.
on screen.
So we
ready.
see here, he's not coming in this lap as we expected, but Bates is ready. A move here perhaps from Grove it is. He's got past Wall, so that's important. But Wall is certainly keeping the pressure on him as he tries to get that position. So they're getting close, this battle, in these last few moments before they come in, and we have the driver change.
Great to see David Wall back behind the wheel of a race car. He's a former 2-time Australian GT champion in 09 and 2010. I've seen too much of him from a full-time basis over the last few years. He's been concentrating on the Wall racing team.
It's Gary Higgin on screen. World's nicest man.
The KFC king.
He's an absolute superstar.
And several of them, I believe.
I think he's got about 80-odd stalls.
Wow, that's more than several.
Yeah, he's got a lot.
That's a lot of chicken.
Yes.
Employs about 2,500 people, he said, so
Incredible.
he's very busy during the week.
So this is his way of relaxing.
This is
coming
his
out and
golf.
racing. Yeah, exactly. And Paul Stokell driving that car at the moment in 6th position as Tony Quinn comes in. He's driving solo. Yesterday's M-Class winner, so he's got a 115-second stop. You're outside of your top 3 in your respective classes yesterday. You'll do the minimum 100 seconds in the lane. You don't need to take on fuel. You don't need to take on tyres. You can just the pressures if you like.
Yep.
You've got to sit there in your bay for 65 seconds.
Must feel like an eternity. Just the car controller and 2 people allowed to work on the car if there are any adjustments needed, as we said, to check the pressures, etc. And no fuel. So a lot of the single car guys are coming in, trophy competitors coming into the lane as we speak, but all our 5 Pro-Am cars remaining out on track as Wall keeping the pressure on the back of Brenton Grove as he looks to get past and get into pit lane first.
This category only has 2 sets of tyres, don't they, for qualifying or for the races, so they actually don't have a lot of leeway as far as changing tyres in the stop, so they just, majority of the time, they just do the pressures. Unless they've had a DNF and they've got a bank of tyres.
A Pirelli tyre like it was at Phillip Island, very durable as Nick Kelly, right-hand side, takes on his stop. Right down in 13th position. And left-hand side, you've got Mark Griffith, the sole GT4 car in this weekend's event, and Tony Quinn just behind him. So pit stop window open until 9:25, so we've been open for about 3 minutes now, 9:25 local time here at Bathurst. As the pit stops start to happen, let's go down to the lane with Rusty.
Boys, I've just had a word to Barry Hay, who was car controller for Mark Sini, working with Melbourne Performance Centre this weekend. Barry's had great experience with Stone Brothers over the years, as you know, alongside Russell Ingall at the height of his championship success in supercars. He said no real complaints from Mark. They have bled a little bit of air out of those tyres during the pit stop because the track temp has come up.
Just on screen there, did you see what happened there? It looked like car 5 was buttoning off too early and he was trying to push the local Legends car out. And that's exactly what happened to Mossy yesterday. That's why he got done.
Van Gisbergen now really pushing. So he's got the fastest Sector 1 time. The purple lighting up on the screen as we speak. So Giz looking for the gap. It's 1.2 seconds. Interesting. The gap to the leader for Garth Tander, 7.5 seconds. So how that plays out in the stop, keep your eye on exactly where Yasser Shahin will pop out. Of course, second yesterday, they had the daily double down at Phillip Island with the 2 race wins. So let's see where they pop out in this train. It is Van Gisbergen, though, who leads the field as we enter the halfway point. 30 minutes gone, 30 to still come in race 2. The Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia under blue skies at Mount Panorama.
Van Gisbergen about to set another fastest lap here. He tries to stretch that margin before he pits and hands over to Jeffrey Ibrahim. And gets beaten this time by Mostert, who responds 2:04.06.
They're both pushing as hard as they can just before the pit window.
In the pit lane now is the 38, and that's not a good sign, although it's been sitting there for several seconds now. Michael Bailey, nearly 60 seconds. That's just the heat soak we hope at the moment, or is a bit more to that story.
That looks like it's coming from the engine bay.
We had a massive crash into the earth bank at coming out of Southern Loop at Phillip Island. Remember, great job just to even be here this weekend.
Yeah.
That was heavy, wasn't it, as Quinn leaves the lane.
So this is the replay, what Dave was trying to explain. So normally the line's further back.
Yes.
But here they use the safety car line, which is
further
halfway around the corner.
It's about 10 metres longer.
Yasser Shahin ready to roll and jump in the 777 car. Yeah, everybody stepped up with their helmet designs this year. I suppose they had a fair bit of time to think about that last year. These two just throwing fastest laps at each other as they pull away by 8 seconds to Garth Tander now.
Chaz's car's looking pretty skatey in the rear. Have a look at the onboard.
Here the Undertrays just scraping as they work their way into Forest Elbow and start heading downhill on this 6.2 kilometre course at Mount Panorama. 25 minutes of racing and about 4 minutes left in the pit stop window, and then an all-out scrap to the finish in race number 2 of the Fanatec GT World Challenge. Next round for these guys will be in South Australia, so Yasser Shahin's home turf at the Ben Motorsport Park.
Wonderful facilities, absolutely immaculately presented by the Shahin family, doing a great job for motorsport in this country. They'll go around one more time at least, will they? No, in comes Mostert. So that's an interesting decision. Dave, what do you make of that one?
I don't know, I find that weird unless they don't think they'll get around before the window shuts, or the Triple Eight guys are just really pushing the barrier as far as the time limit goes.
Well, they're trying for an undercut. He couldn't get any closer to him on there.
Yeah, trying. Got to try something, don't you? But they're going to be stationary 10 seconds less than the Triple Eight car, so they'll probably pop out in front.
So Tander in as well now to jump in for Yasser Shahin. The seat insert there with a bit of a height difference between these two. So Mostert, Tander and David Wall into the pits. He'll hand over to Adrian Dietz. There he is going in the background of the shot, and the unique-looking Lamborghini.
You can see they're doing the tyre pressures on the rears to try and get the pressure out to make them last longer and give more grip.
Fair to say it's a little less intense than a driver change in a 1,000 when you know you've got 100 seconds at least, plus any penalty time as well. It makes for a little calmer experience, doesn't it?
I can't recall who it was, but I called a race at Adelaide several years ago where the two drivers actually got out and took a selfie in the lane. They had much time to change over. Someone will hit me up with it. I remember calling it several years ago there. That's something you'd do.
Yeah, possibly.
Stokel in his famous yellow and blue helmet that he carried for many, many years in his Australian Drivers' Championship campaign. Out comes Tony Bates. So he takes over from Chaz Mostert. And where is Shane Van Gisbergen?
Let's see if Tony butts off at the correct spot this time. Or this car, sorry.
Worst possible placement there for the bird to do its business on the windscreen.
So as a driver, you're looking at this switcher's hat normally, and that's the
moment.
Yeah, but it's actually, see, it's 10 metres later, which is.
They've got to be careful. They have to be careful leaving. They had the problem yesterday, and they got the penalty. So Bates, it is, that heads away after his change. He's swapped with Chaz Mostert. Garth Tander swapping with Yasser Shahin, and in comes the race leader. So the 888, the chrome goes past us. Yasser Shahin, it is in the Tander car, and it is Prince Jeffrey getting ready to go in.
Because it's such a long lap.
Oh,
yeah, he's pushing on.
Pushing really hard through the Pertec Dipper on his way into the pits. That'll show why that second sector was some 2.5 seconds slower on that lap alone. So will that play a part as Arthur Abraham slows? I think there's a wheel missing off his Cannon Foods entry. He pulls to the left-hand side there just by the John Hinksman Vista here at Bathurst.
It's an unusual sight.
There is the wheel,
there's the
and
problem.
would this be enough for a safety car? It's going to park right in the middle of the racing line now. It might be able to roll back down the hill, which will help us.
I hope all the teams are onto all the drivers about it.
As he made contact with the wall there, perhaps, at the top of Solomon Park. So many have done that. They have called a safety car at a critical moment of the race.
Ooh.
And more than a glance on the wall there for Arthur Abrahams there.
It's a really hard wall to hit because it's almost dead set at, you know, right angles to the car. So it's very, very.
Now, this will be the question, how this plays out, how this affects the strategy for those that have taken the stop, and for Van Gisbergen, who was in the stop. There's the errant wheel bouncing its way across the top of the mountain. We've seen a few wheels in windscreens in time at Mount Panorama. Craig Lowndes, one of the more famous ones. As the Van Gisbergen pit stop is complete, and it is Jeffrey Ibrahim who's now in that car after a fantastic outing yesterday. He's here for 12 months, intensive driver training, doing some work at Norwell, doing some work with SVG. Not a bad man to have teaching you your craft here in Australia. Couldn't pick a better person right now.
That actually worked out very well for the 888 car. Very, very well, because everyone was so worried about the top of the mountain. They had to slow down. They lost so much time out there, and they were just sitting in pit lane. You know, it actually worked out perfect for them.
And even that little mistake coming down to the dipper, had we stayed green, could have been a role reversal there.
Definitely, definitely.
So
but now it's down to the best amateur driver, so it's going to be on.
Exactly. It's like a half-time break.
Yes.
Blow the siren. We will retrieve the Arthur Abrahams car. So they've now come out of the pits, and that will give everybody, apart from Stokel, who's still changing over in the pits, a clean run with just under 20 minutes remaining. The Hyundai safety car out on the circuit.
How's this for pressure for Jeffrey Ibrahim when we get going once again? Roland Dane is here, involved in the team this weekend, keeping an eye on proceedings. He's got a guy who hasn't lost a race all year, even dating back to last year. So there's a lot to play. Let's get down to Jess with Chaz Mostert.
Yeah, thanks. Found Chaz Mostert. He's just jumped out of the car. Had an epic battle with Shane Van Gisbergen through the start of that, but that safety car has not quite played into your hands.
Yeah, I'm starting to really dislike this GT racing, but yeah, look, the start was awesome. Anytime you chase Shane around here, there's a lot of hoot. Obviously, he's got the better of me every time I've come here over the last 12 months. So, look, it was good to chase him, put a bit of pressure on him, but we were just too evenly matched. So, yeah, looking forward to see how the end of the race pans out. It's a battle for the AMs now, so we'll see how they go.
Absolutely. How's Tony been feeling in the car?
He's been getting faster and faster all weekend. You know, qualifying was really good for him to bang that last second lap time out. So, look, I think it'll be a good little battle. As long as he looks forward and focuses on the fight, hopefully we're in this. We'll see how we go.
Watch it very closely. It should be fascinating. Thanks very much, Chaz.
Thank you.
Looks pretty fresh, doesn't he?
Yeah, just cruising.
Just cruising.
Loves it, doesn't he? Such a laid-back character at the racetrack. There's plenty that get intense. He's not one of them.
They're very stressful cars to drive, but you don't really sweat that much in them because, I don't know, just you're not really moving that much in them. Like they're ABS, traction control, paddle shift, they're actually a little bit too easy sometimes.
So here's the reason why the safety car is out on the track. Hard impact for Arthur Abrahams. A lot of debris on the track, which has forced the safety car to come out here at Mount Panorama. The wheel perfectly placed on the grass. They'll clean the debris up at the top of Sulman Park, but his car's will be left on the left-hand side there at John Hinksman Vista. So should be a fairly short safety car period. Good to see fans on the racetrack on this Easter long weekend. People have been starved of motor racing action in the last 12 months, and there's plenty to see here today as we continue our countdown to the High-Tech Oils Bathurst 6 hour. That's what we
That's a
should
good
be
setup.
like. That's cool.
Good rig, good rig. And our man Brad Hodge will be up across the top of the mountain during the High-Tech Oils 6 hour today. He's got a couple of hours up there and he is absolutely bursting to get amongst it. He wants to get into the famous Mount Panorama sign, but you have to jump some fences to do it. So we'll wait and see if he manages to make that possible. Let's get back down into the lane.
Garth Tander was actually in conversation with Eric Pender and the team here from Melbourne Performance. He's been good enough to step away and chat with us. Firstly, what was the car like for your stint? Were you happy?
Car's good. We just didn't quite get the tyre pressures right. So, to be honest, I don't think we accounted for the extra hour later with daylight savings with the switch overnight. I think there's more UV on the track. So when you compare it to yesterday's, 8:50 in the morning when the race starts, different to 8:50 yesterday. So I think we missed a trick there. But car's good. We adjusted the tyres in the pit stop for Yasser. And now this safety car is really good for us because it closes all the gaps back up. So we want to go racing as soon as we can.
Okay, thank you.
Cheers.
Dave, if you could take your pick, you've got Yasser Shahin in fourth, Tony Bates in third. You'll have your boss Grove in second, and Prince Jeffrey. If you could pick one of those to be your co-driver, at this point in the race, we've got under 20 minutes remaining. Who do you take?
I'm not picking anyone.
No.
I'm just going to sit on the fence with this one for the first time in my life. I'm a fence sitter.
You've always had an opinion, Dave.
Yeah, I know,
That's
but
why I'm going to get you here.
I don't want to be wrong. That's the problem.
It doesn't mean that they'll win necessarily. It's just who would you want? Who do you back?
Who do I back? Oh, Tony struggled yesterday. He wasn't really happy with his car. So hopefully they could improve it overnight and really take the fight to the AAA car. You know, Stephen is very, very good, but I think Yasser's performance at Phillip Island he'd be the one to watch right now. He's got a lot of confidence the minute, drives the cars all the time, so you know, he's going to be, even though he's in fourth, but I think he can do it.
And Hodgie's got Brenton Grove.
I've got Brenton Grove, and I just heard Brenton that Dave Reynolds said that he's not sure who he would pick as co-driver amateur. Steve's in the car now. Great job from you. Could this be your first race win?
Oh, whenever we get interviewed, something bad always happens. It's happened 3 races in a row now, so look, I'm not going to say yes or no. Steve's quick, and the car's in front. He's got some pace on, so yeah, it'll be a really interesting fight. I did my bit, got us to second, and now it's up to him, but who knows, anything can happen. There's a lap car in there as well, and this joint's crazy, so we'll see what happens.
Well, the good thing is you can blame a past cricketer if something goes wrong, not Dave Reynolds yourself, who actually is employed by yourself. So that's a good sign. Mate, what's going to be the key for Steve? He's got a lot of experience to get the job done for the first win.
Yeah, look, the big thing for Steve is making sure he hits his marks. It's very easy to follow the car in front when you're behind and use their braking markers, and if you've got pace on them, then you can't get past. So just telling him to make sure that he hits his marks, and if he's got pace on him to make the most of it. But it's hard. It's so hard across the top. You lose so much aero. So look, fingers crossed. I think he's ready for it. We'll just see how it pans out.
Awesome job, mate. Back to you guys. Pay cut for you, Dave.
Oh, I don't like that.
Jess?
Yeah, I have tracked down Roland Dane, which is possibly going to be one of my least pleasant interviews of the weekend, I think. But please be nice to me, because the safety car has been nice to us.
Well, yes and no. I mean, Iman would have come out in the lead. Prince Jeffrey would have come out in the lead anyway. The safety car's bunched everyone up, so now it's put him under pressure. But I think he'll be pretty good. He's got racing Tony Bates and Stephen Grove and Yasser. They're all in the mix there. So he's just got to get on it straight away now. So it'll be plenty of pressure under him.
Any word from race control about when we'll be going green?
I think we're going green in a second. Yeah.
Better let you get back to it then.
Thank you.
That's always...
She's been fearing that interview all weekend.
She has. Shane was in the background and she had to pick, it was the lesser of two evils, I think, of which one she would go with. Dave, you've learned from yesterday.
Yes.
In terms of selling the dream, selling the story, because you picked the guy in fourth as being the best co-driver, so we can watch him charge his way through. So you're selling the dream. We've got a great race coming up.
You know, as the longer the safety car stays out, the less time he'll have to get it done. So, you know, but he did such a good job at Phillip Island that his confidence will be high.
Either way, we've got 13 minutes of high-pressure motor racing ahead of us here as the Hyundai safety car heads towards pit lane. Jeffrey Ibrahim will lead the field.
There is a slower car in between there, so you've got to sort of factor that in as well.
Exactly.
Hopefully he just pulls out of the way and lets them past, and isn't a factor, but it is racing, and no one likes to let cars past.
SVG looks on. Will the 2021 domination continue? The pressure on Ibrahim. You got Bates running in second, Grove third, Tander, and it'll be Shaheen in fourth position now. Dietz is in the wheel on the Lamborghini. We go back to green flag racing with just over 12 minutes remaining. Race 2 of the Fanatec GT World Challenge here today at Mount Panorama.
It was Grove having a look as we went into Hell Corner for the first time, but the door was slammed shut by Bates. He's making himself as wide as possible. Great restart though by Jeffrey. He's got himself a nice little gap at the moment. Bates really needs to get past if he can. They're going to go too wide. Is he going to have a look? He's going to get through. Okay, no worries. So Tony Bates makes that move as we go into Griffiths, and he's on the attack as he chases Prince Jeffrey up Mount Panorama.
So that's Mark Sini, who's running down in 14th position, and well, he's blocking here at the moment, but we'll need to find some space to let these guys through. He's a lap down now in this race. It's just not going to help the guys in third and fourth position.
That's going to be, Yass is going to be very annoyed with that. But Mark's probably just trying to get out of the way and stay on the racing line and do what he normally does, so it's really costing these guys some time.
It's already 1.5 seconds, and not too many chances here to do it. He wants to pull to the left-hand side here and let the cars go. Dietz behind the back of Grove. Remember, both those cars didn't need to do any additional time, so when that safety car come out, it just settled this entire field down. It's through the Pertec dipper we go.
Shaheen will be furious with this. He needed to get past, he couldn't make it happen, so he's had to sit behind across the mountain. Even at Forestello, no room, the door is shut. Shaheen must get past. We've only got less than 14 minutes remaining as that gap to the lead ekes its way out. It is Prince Jeffrey who leads them away. Can he get him down into the chase here, Shaheen? Surely.
13.5 minutes left, so once he gets past him, he's going to have to get it done.
This is giving the advantage to the 888 and the 24 as finally, he's only just going to get past Sini down here, but that's cost mega time for the 777.
To Mark's defence, these aren't the easiest cars to see out of. They're very, very difficult cars to see out of, so you don't.
That
really
time
know
he's just let Grove past okay there, so no issues with that one. So perhaps you're dead set there, Dave, that may have been the problem, and just wanting to keep it safe and clean and not make a mistake in front of Shaheen across the mountain too, which would have been an even worse outcome. So here was the moment coming down into the chase. Shaheen on the inside and gets it done. No worries with that one, and Grove then able to come through as well. So we're back in order, and there's the gap from our race leader. Prince Jeffrey heading into Griffin's Bend, back up the mountain. In behind him is Bates. That gap is close. It is half a second. Bates is on the charge.
Tony's car looks like it's handled much better than yesterday. Yesterday he was very not happy with his car, so obviously they've tuned it up and he's a bit more confident.
Good to see Brad Schumacher having another great day out. He's made up 3 positions in this race and leading his class today aboard the 55 Kelso electrical car. Had an unbelievable spin here on Conrod Straight during practice on Friday. The team that thankfully are locally based here in Bathurst got that car repaired. They worked all through the night Friday to have it ready for qualifying yesterday. The 55 taking out the class win in the trophy class and now running 5th outright for inside the final 10 minutes. A few behind the trees. And a beautiful boardwalk that's been installed here over the last 12 months.
It's a great idea. There's a little lookout as well, which is unbelievable.
It's a lot safer than trying to stand on the rocks up there.
Yeah, stand on that pit wall.
A bit awkward down here at Forest Elbow with Dietz and Tony Quinn. This guy's 6th and 7th. Max Twig just behind in car 23. One of 2 KFC Audis in the field. Back to the front, half a second between Ibrahim and Bates.
Could get interesting though, couldn't get it done before the kick as we head down into the chase. So it's a good move, and now he loses 2 positions there, does Dietz, because Twig has also made his way through in the KFC car.
He may lose 3 spots here by the time we get to the final turn. Back at the front, Ibrahim and Tony Bates. It's less than half a second.
Yes, he's chopped out like 2 seconds that lap, so you know he'll be head down. Got the red mist up. He'll be pushing on as hard as he can. He's only got another couple of laps to make it happen.
Left-hand side gives you the class guide, the colours indicating where your favourite driver is at the moment. Said Brandon Schumacher leading in the trophy class at the moment. And Tony Quinn leading in the AM class just behind him in 6th position. Mark Griffith, the sole GT4 cars we pointed out, back in 15th place. Just the one car that's retired from the event. There was Arthur Abrahams at the midway point of this race. So 15 cars on the circuit and 7 minutes and change left in this race.
And hasn't it set up a beauty, because Shaheen is flying. He has closed that gap so fast to the lead 2 cars and set up a beauty. As we see Schumacher here on the charge as well. 250 clicks down Conrad Straight. That spin, it was a right rear issue. It had been delaminating for a couple of laps unbeknownst to him, and bang, she went, and round he went. So this is getting close across the top of the mountain. This is Shaheen now putting plenty of pressure on the back of Tony Bates in the Audi.
It's going to be hard to find out where he's going to get past, because they're in the same car effectively, so he's going to have to really go for it and throw it down the inside.
This is where driver ability comes into it. So we're having a look at a replay here. Oh, there was perhaps almost contact there coming into Murray's corner last time around. So that's how close they got. Let's get down to Greg Rust.
Well, the pictures you're watching are Garth Tander having to leave Melbourne Performance Centre because he's got to go and get into TCR mode, and Chaz Mostert is walking out of the garage as well. So that race, the final one for Super Cheap Auto TCR, coming up very soon. Garth confident about the pace that Yasser has got. Obviously a very tricky situation in here for MPC, trying to manage all that with Mark Sini and things like that before.
Thanks, Rusty, down the lane. Of course, that race coming up inside 30 minutes as Shaheen looks for a move on Bates at Hell Corner. Have to tuck in for another lap. No real easy place to pass here, regardless of one of these cars.
Not really. They're all quite evenly matched, so they're all quite evenly matched, so it's really, really hard, especially when you come up on another Audi, if you're in an Audi, or if you come up on another Merc, if you're in a Merc. So they're they're hard cars to pass, because you brake so late. There's not a lot of time to make up in there.
Shaheen and Bates, 2nd and 3rd on the circuit. 5 minutes of competition. The pressure is on, but it's letting Jeffrey Ibrahim pull away to nearly 1.5 seconds as they climb the shelf here. The closing stages of this race.
Tony does not like to get past at all. He's one that makes this car so wide every time. It's going to be hard for Yasser to get past. He might have to be inventive with this one, I think. Inventive, maybe do a bit of a sneak attack.
Like this, phantom look.
Nose,
would never pass anyone there.
Keeping Bates on his toes there, showing the nose just to make sure that he's aware that I'm going to have a crack. And he has to. He absolutely has to.
Tony's thinking too much about Yasser, and he's forgot about the race lead. So a lap ago, he was right on it, right up Jeffrey's clacker. I was going to say something else there. What are you laughing at?
Ibrahim You know, we're going to laugh at anything. This is impressive for Ibrahim. I know SVG did the bulk work early in the race, but for a guy that's never seen this mountain before, let alone race on it till this weekend, impressive to say the least, as Shaheen's tucked right in behind the Bostic Audi. Pulls out to make a move here. Door slam shut, very close, very tight down here in the DBA chase.
It's wiped off a little bit of the momentum too as we head down into Murray's. So that moment has taken the pressure off just a bit for Bates as we head around for another lap. We've probably got a couple left to go at this point, looking at the clock. Moment here for Dietz. So that's in the car that he's sharing this weekend with David Wall. So perhaps just carrying a little bit much speed into the chase. Here we go on the outside. Side by side up Mountain Straight. It is Yasser Shaheen to the right on Tony Bates.
Can't go around the outside here. It's just you don't have enough grip.
Oh,
He's got it. He's got it.
Congratulations. Big pass, great pass.
He's got a couple of seconds now to try and claw back as they head up the mountain. It is still Jeffrey Ibrahim out in front. The gap 2.1 seconds. A couple of laps remaining. Another beauty in the Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia. Race 2 at Mount Panorama.
He's been pushing for several laps and finally got the job done on the outside as Bates gets up on that curb at Stormont Park. This might tell us what happened to the Dietz Lamborghini in an early check-in at the ridges, perhaps, as he skates across the gravel trap here in car number 6. And that drops him down the order now to 12th position.
You're a funny man, Matty.
A bit of carbon fibre, definitely contact. I think he was helped for that check-in, that's for sure.
So
an express check-in, was that?
Bates, extremely lucky to get away. Then I was watching Shaheen with the inside left wheel off the ground through the Pertec dipper, trying his best to stay with car 777. It's cost him at least half a second, maybe 2 seconds now, heading down Conrod Straight. He's lost touch.
I think he's going to have to settle in for third, Tony, and just bring it home. This car's not performing at the best. Maybe tyres are over pressure. It's going to be hard to drive, so just do the best you can and bring him in third.
The leader, Triple A Mercedes, Johor Motor Racing entry, Van Gisbergen and Ibrahim. The gap stays at 2 seconds. We go back to Sini and Andrew McPherson behind the wheel now of the IMAC Lamborghini. Closing stages, Rusty. We've got a thriller building here at Mount Panorama.
Yeah, we sure do, Matt. And a little bit more to the story where you saw Adrian Dietz exiting the chase on the grass there before. Greg Taylor, what's happened here?
Yeah, mate, unfortunately, yeah, just coming down Conrod Straight there, just gone into the braking zone. Unfortunately, the guy's just broken a little bit early in front of me, and I probably, come in a little bit hot, and I've just tailed him in the end, and it seems to have put a nice hole in our radiators, ended our day.
Will you try and at least, do a lap to finish, or that's it, your game's done?
I think, look at the steam coming out the front, I think she's done, mate.
All right, the gap now under 1 second. Shaheen is flying around Mount Panorama as he tries to chase down Jeffrey. Battles going throughout the pack. This is Tony Quinn, who at the moment is still leading in the AM class. Schumacher is leading the trophy class.
He's got Tony Quinn pressuring him right now as Dietz, who fell back down to 11th position. He's got McPherson behind him now. So that's a change of position on that lap. It's across the top of the mountain, less than a second. With less than a minute of racing to go, there'll be 1 lap to go, we think, at the end of this one. Ibrahim with all the pressure. Shaheen on a charge in the Ben Motorsport Park Valvoline entry. Down through the Pertec dipper we go.
Yasser seems to be the faster driver across the top, so that's the whole from turn, I think it's 5 to basically here. So that's where the confidence really has to come into the car, and you have to drive it on the limit, using all the aero and all the knowledge with everything you've got. It's a very, very difficult thing to do.
And even Roland Dane acknowledging before about the safety car and the impact that had, and the fact that it puts the pressure on the Prince. And can he put in a royal performance and come out on top in this one, because the man chasing him has been in superb form all year. He gets very close coming into the chase. He's got great speed and momentum. It's a bit of a wobble though. That's cost him coming down into Murray's.
He'll be on that traction control dial as best he can. So in the cars, they've all got a traction control dial, which is about 1 to 10, to give or take. Depends on what type of car. So if you're in the wet conditions, you dial it up. More traction control. If the tyre starts to go away, you dial it up. And vice versa. When you're on new tyres, you dial it right down so you can use the tyre.
Adam De Bore, Eric Pender down in the garage. Final lap is on now. Shaheen has less than 6 kilometres to stop the reign of Shane van Gisbergen in 2021. Ibrahim can hold his head high regardless. This is not the easiest racetrack to conquer. He works his way up through Griffins for the final time. Bates is settled for third here. Grove runs in fourth. Schumacher and Quinn running fifth and sixth position. Adrian Dietz has now come back up into 10th position. On this, the final lap.
So it's the Bathurst 1000 champions from last year. They're getting ready for our next TCR race while their teammates go hammer and tong across the mountain for the final time. Is there an opportunity? Is there a place and a time when Yasser Shaheen can strike for Garth Tander and get Prince Jeffrey and Shane van Gisbergen, and as Matt said, and stop that undefeated run for SVG in 2021?
There's a heavy battle going on, heavy battle.
You can see more than we can right now, right?
Hey?
You can see more than we can.
Like, the hard thing is when you're buried up a car like this, you actually can't see anything. Like, all you can see is the car in front. He's going for a dive. He's going for he's done it.
Contact, and he's got him. Yasser Shaheen has gone through at Forrest's elbow, and the crowd erupts in their garage. The team know that was the moment. He had one opportunity almost, and he made the most of it as we head on down Conrod Straight for the final time. It is Yasser Shaheen leading the way.
That is a great move. Set it up. That is a great move. He's done fantastic.
Pressured him on the final lap and made the move at Forrest Elbow at the very last moment and set sail for the final turn. Garth Tander started this car. He's now in his TCR getting ready for race number 3, while his teammate has one turn to go. Yasser Shaheen will win race number 2 of the GT World Challenge here today at Bathurst in another thriller on the mountain.
Garth Tander it is who gets the last laugh on the weekend at Bathurst. He gets one over his Bathurst 1000 teammate in Shane van Gisbergen, and the streak has come to an end. Tony Bates in third, Mostert with another podium performance.
I think he's just been given the word that they've picked up the win as Nick Kelly comes around. 8th position and 4th in the GT3 class today. Well done.
Did I sit on the fence too much when I should
Yes,
have
you
said?
did.
Damn. But I said he was the one to sort of watch, didn't I?
You called it, and you called it correct.
Is Adrian Dietz and the David Wall combination coming through to finish in 10th. Shaheen winning by 0.8 of a second with that big move at Forrest Elbow to get the win and pick up their 3rd victory of the season in the Fanatec GT World Challenge. Mark Cini coming across the line there to finish in 13th. Gary Higgin and Paul Stokel just behind.
That was a great race.
Another beauty. What a weekend of GT racing at the Mount.
To compete in the very last lap and go down to the very last couple of corners, that's what you want to see.
Even with the hold-up of the Cini car in there, they still managed to get it done by 0.8 of a second to Ibrahim and van Gisbergen, Bates and Mostert third. The two Groves coming home in 4th position ahead of Schumacher, who picks up the trophy class win once again. And the AM class winner today, Tony Quinn, in 6th position ahead of Twig, Kelly, Bailey, and the Dietz and Wall Lamborghini finishing in position number 10.
Over the page, McPherson and Porter. Great experience throughout Asia from Higgin and Stokel in the KFC car. Cini doing a good job to get out of the way there in the end. And let's take a look at the race highlights for the GT World Challenge Australia. Race 2 at Mount Panorama.
The 16-car field took the green flag here with the pro drivers at the head. It was van Gisbergen and Mostert that led us through into turn number 1. This was contact with Arthur Abrahams and Mark Cini on the way down the hill into the Pertec Dipper. And a bit of a traffic jam on the way out of pit lane here between Quinn and Taylor.
Cooked was the 38. Dennis team coming out from under the bonnet on that one. And this was the moment that called out the safety car. Arthur Abrahams into the wall across the top of the mountain. And we had an errant wheel making its way around the racetrack without its other 3 friends. So Abrahams getting out of the way. A safety car for a few laps. That was the problem. Track cleared and on we raced.
And this was Shaheen making the move on Cini, who was a lap down. It cost him several seconds. This was the moment that put Dietz out into the gravel and also put Taylor out of the race. in car number 5 with only a few minutes to go in race number 2. Dietz returning to the track to finish in 10th position with David Wall here today. There was the damage in the end result for the Audi down in pit lane. And then the move on the last lap, and there was no contact, but there wasn't much between the two. And the Audi team stoked with that effort as Shaheen and Tander take their 3rd victory of the season in the Fanatec GT World Challenge, Australia, powered by AWS.
Really beautiful race it was, wasn't it? 2 in a row, and he was pretty happy about it too. The team rushing out from underneath us to the wall to congratulate Yasser Shaheen, who's been the standout performer of our couple of weekends of racing in GT so far. Prince Jeffrey, though, to his credit, another fantastic performance too.
Oh, I can't say enough about his efforts today to come to Mount Panorama without seeing this place. Phenomenal effort. Let's go to Greg Rust.
Yasser Shaheen is just taking his helmet off after one of the races of his life. Firstly, it was tough with the frustration of trying to get past a stablemate, and then at the end you threw it down the inside. That was mighty. Was it on the limit? Was there anything left?
No, there was nothing left over the top, but he made a mistake coming out of the dipper, which gave me my chance. It was awesome. That was a lot of fun. Great to do it.
How does that feel? I think
like Matt Campbell.
I know that I think Garth spoke to you after Phillip Island. You were pumped after a massive weekend there. This must feel at the mountain even more special.
Awesome, absolutely exhilarating. You know, pinch yourself on a day like today. We came here to win and we got the job done.
Well done. I know Garth had to go to the TCR and you can't celebrate with him, but congratulations to you and all the team.
Thanks, mate.
Here he is, Yasser Shaheen. We'll keep going here because for the 2nd time in as many days, from an AM point of view, Tony Quinn is with us. You've had a great weekend in this car, haven't you?
Yeah, Bathurst is good to me. Well, it can either be good or really bad, but it's really good right now.
The flip side of that is you are now gearing up for the 6 hour. A couple little gremlins yesterday. Yeah. Is the Mustang sorted?
Yeah, we believe it's well sorted. So watch us, we're the dark horse.
Okay.
Really dark, like black horse.
Great to catch up. Congratulations, Tony.
Thank you, people. Thank you. Well done.
Well, fantastic day of racing. What about that GT race? Action-filled all the way, and of course we've got so much action coming up your way as well. TCR race still to come, of course, the Bathurst High-Tech Alls 6-hour race is going to be incredible, Hodgie.
Yeah, there's some super action on track to come, but amazingly, you know, Garth Tander didn't get to see his friend Yasser Shaheen get the win here in the GT. He's getting ready for TCR. Same for Chaz Mostert. That was an epic GT race. It really was. Yasser Shaheen, the amateurs chasing down the Prince Jeffrey and getting the job done on the chase. So that's awesome.
Right at the last minute too. Of course, we always knew we were going to have a great weekend of racing here. The weather is fantastic at Bathurst this weekend. It has been a great day so far, and we've got so much more still to come. Of course, the highlight of the day, the High-Tech Alls 6-hour race. We cannot wait to get that started. And up and down the lane here, Hodgie, the buzz is real now. You know, we're on the edge of this big race, so everyone's looking forward to it.
Yeah, there's a lot of action in the garage. You can see a lot of amateur drivers starting to get their purpose into their car. The TCR